Fickbaum. Ray.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Pulte.
Here.
Milanowski. Rogeski. Crandall. Rose.
Here.
Pasternak.
Here.
We have full quorum.
I would ask everyone, please rise to recite the national anthem. Remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Midday or so, then things kind of break up after that. We continue to see some in more central
Before we go, Charlie, you got the request?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd request that we move item 12, discussion possible action resolution 2026 regarding recognition of Mary Doherty to between items 5 and 6 before public comment.
And
Additionally, item 21, discussion regarding open meeting complaint. I'd suggest we have that prior to the likely closed session, so that'd be between 17 and 18.
is there any objection from the board? Everybody good with that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
At this time, discussion of possible action of the minutes from our February 24th, 2026 meeting.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Jeff Holte. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple corrections or suggestions on the minutes, and I'm getting to them in my packet here. This would be on page 4. I thought the minutes were unclear, reflecting the motion from Fickbaum. At the top there on the second paragraph, it says motion carried. And I think I would suggest that the way it reads, it implies that that it's unclear what motion carried as I read it. So my thought was that it should read that rather than just read the first motion must be completed, it should be the first motion from Fickbaum to postpone must be completed. And then it should read the motion was declared carried on a voice vote. And I think that would clarify that there was some confusion there about which, because I suggested a motion to reject the reimbursement, and you clarified that we need to discuss the first motion from Fickbaum to postpone. So it would read Pasternak stated that the first motion from Fickbaum to postpone must be completed. And then rather than just saying motion carried, should say motion was declared carried on a voice vote, because we ended up taking a roll call vote and the motion didn't end up carrying.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yep.
Are there any other additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have here tonight, some young people that are applying for our youth scholarship, and we would ask them to come up and address us. I have a Gifty Cook. Is she here with us this afternoon? Come on up, Gifty, up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, I'm Gifty Cook. I'm a senior at Washburn High School, and I plan to attend the University of Wisconsin Whitewater in the fall of 2026. I will be majoring in broadcast journalism with a focus on sports media as I aspire to become a sports journalist or a sports broadcaster. I'm interested in the local government because it deals with the community and listens to our questions and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Gifty. Also this evening, we have Isaac Pooler. Isaac, you want to come up and introduce yourself to the board?
Hello, I'm Isaac Pooler. I'm from Hughes. I'm a senior at Northwestern High School. As of right now, it's kind of where I'm going to go. It's a toss-up between UMD or Platteville for engineering. And obviously, I'm interested in this scholarship. And the topic I will be submitting will be about, helping housing for young workers, hopefully like myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item would be the discussion of possible action of the resolution 2026-28, recognition of board member Mary Doherty.
Yay.
Mary's been on the board 6 years, Mary? And Mary and I may have had our differences, but we always work through them, and we appreciate your service to the county at this time. Anyone have any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Go ahead, Charlie.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2026-28 in appreciation of Mary Doherty for her service to the county board.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Sue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
I've got a little something to say.
Okay,
Come
Mary.
on. Did you guess that I wouldn't? I'm going to keep it brief. So I walked into this boardroom for the first time in 2015 when the community was asking for a moratorium on factory farms because we learned that 26,000 hogs were coming to Bayfield County. And at that time, the county board listened to our concerns. They passed a moratorium, studied the issues that we would face if those Iowan hogs set up shop in Bayfield County. And now, 10 years on, the operations ordinance that board developed, working with partners and community members, has been passed in multiple towns and counties around the state and is being considered in many more. And since I joined the board in 2020, because I had a burning desire to see how the proverbial sausage was made, the good work has continued. We've supported the Meals on Wheels program. We've worked on finding solutions to childcare issues. We've dug into the issues facing Northern Lights Nursing Home and found solutions that are truly bearing fruit today. We found ways to bring public health services to the four corners of the county with the Wellness on Wheels trailer. We worked on repatriating 2,500 acres of county-owned treaty lands back to tribal ownership. Based on feedback from staff, we transitioned to a PTO policy. We've supported Bayfield's first community land trust, Check Built, that's dedicated to increasing the inventory of permanently affordable homes in our region, and Aurora Place, which is, I think, one of our greatest achievements. It's 40 new homes for seniors and families in our community. That is a huge win. I could go on, but let's be honest, we have one heck of an agenda in front of us tonight, and brevity is kindness when we're in a county boardroom. That said, I want to leave tonight with something honest on the table because I think it's important. We are at a moment where the decisions this board makes will either build public trust or erode it. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. People are watching how local government works. They're asking whether it works for them. The cynicism out there is real, and frankly, it's earned in a lot of places. What we do here either adds to that cynicism or pushes back against it. Our job, the way I see it, is not to protect this institution from the people it serves. It's to be a bridge between community and government, between what people need and what policy can actually deliver. When we close that gap even a little, people notice. And when we widen it, they notice that too. Transparency isn't just a best practice, it is the whole ballgame. If people can't follow our reasoning, if they can't see how a decision got made, then even a good decision starts to look suspect. And here's something about governance that doesn't get said enough. It's iterative. The legal frameworks that we work within, the processes that we follow, the precedents we set, none of that arrives fully formed. We build it as we go, which is exactly why the foundation matters so much. And that foundation isn't abstract. It's the Constitution. It's the framework that every ordinance we pass, every policy we adopt, every decision we make in this room is supposed to rest on, not for convenience, not on consensus among the people around this board table, but on the principle that government exists to serve the people, not the other way around. When we lose sight of that, even briefly, even with good intentions, the cracks show and communities notice cracks. This board has navigated genuinely hard things. The Enbridge reimbursement agreement before us tonight, the Spanish Mustangs, cell phone towers, and a water bottling plant, just to name a few. Concerns that didn't have clean answers or easy precedents. Each of those pushed us to figure out something we hadn't figured out before, and each one added a layer to what the community can reasonably expect from us going forward. That's institutional muscle, built one hard call at a time. So as I leave this seat, what I want to put on the table is this: stand on the foundation. When things get complicated, and they will, go back to foundational principles. Ask who this decision serves, ask whether the public can see your reasoning, ask whether you're building the kind of record you'd be proud to defend. I want to end with the last stanza of a poem that I really love by William Stafford called A Ritual to Reach. I'm sparing you the whole poem because it's kind of long. The last stanza says, "For it is important that awake people be awake. For a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no, or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep." That's it. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure being on this board for 6 years.
Thank you.
Just one more item before we move on to public comment. Mary is not running for the position, but the gentleman that's running for your position is here with us tonight. Jamie, would you want to step up and introduce yourself?
That button? Yes, that's it. Hello, my name is Jamie Tucker. Let's see, I've actually had an interest in running for county board for a while, but I was previously in Charlie Ray's district and did not feel like unseating him. Not that I think that I could. So I'm just really looking forward to working with you all. It sounds like you've had some interesting conversations, and I hope that I can contribute in a meaningful way. And congratulations, Mary, on moving on. And it's some big shoes to fill, and I'll see what I can do. So look forward to seeing you all on the 21st, I believe. So,
Thank you,
well,
Jamie.
hopefully. So there could be a rating. You never know.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up our county board meeting for public comment. Just a few items before we proceed. We ask that you step to the podium, provide your name and your municipality, and then enter the information on the sign-in form. You may speak no longer than 3 minutes and may speak only once per meeting. All comments should be directed to the board as a whole, not to individual board members. Refrain from asking questions of the board or any individual board member. You should be courteous, refrain from rude, obscene, profane language, and personality attacking. There will be no clapping or interruptions. The board chair reserves the right to terminate any individual's public comment if these rules are violated, as well as the authority to rule speakers out of order. We have allotted 15 minutes for public comment. If it exceeds that, the board may make a motion to exceed the 15 minutes. So at this time, anyone would like to address the board, please step forward. You've got 3 minutes, and hopefully we can put a timer up so you can see. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marjorie Diamond Simpson. I live at 939 West Bayfield Street in Washburn. There are a lot of complex issues regarding the impact of Line 5 construction on the county, and I'm going to focus my comments on one very small part of that, the resolution regarding sheriff protective safety equipment. While I certainly do not wish any of our law enforcement personnel to be harmed on duty, I have grave reservations about the county acquiring over $111,000 of so-called protective equipment. I think the public has a right to know what types of equipment the department would like to have. Is it more or less invisible items such as bulletproof vests? Is it visible defensive equipment such as riot shields, visors, and helmets? Or does it include offensive items, for example, tear gas, rubber bullets, and the hardware to deploy them? And I would like an explanation of what it would be used for other than interfering with the rights of free speech and peaceful protests that are protected by the First Amendment. I am old enough to remember back to the early 60s and the civil rights movement. I vividly remember some of the Vietnam War protests, especially the 1968 convention in Chicago and Kent State. From then until the recent protests in LA, Portland, Chicago, and Minneapolis, the main accomplishment of the presence of law enforcement personnel with visible riot gear was to unnecessarily escalate tensions, in some instances to the point of provoking unlawful behavior. I do not want to see that happening in my county. And I certainly do not want to see tear gas, rubber bullets, or other similar so-called non-lethal devices being deployed. Thank you for considering my point of view.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Hi, my name is Ellie Braddock. I am in the town of Washburn, and I'm a public health nurse, and I'm really grateful for all the work this board does, and I know you guys have hard a job. And I'm just wanting to bring into more context of just kind of what Margie was saying too. We've seen an escalation of violence against our citizens and community members. And as a public health nurse, I feel like no one in our community is wanting to see harm to officers or to anybody. And I was really pretty taken aback I attended the sheriff committee meeting last week or the week before, and there was a statement that was made that was by the sheriff and another board member saying that, like, I wanted my guys to be here to see who supports us and who doesn't, or who wants us protected and who doesn't want us protected. And I find that to be very offensive, because that's a false choice of saying that any public or any board members would not want to protect the law enforcement being able to go home to their kids at night. And so when the sheriff said that, to me, that's actually pitting us as the public against us as the public, or you as the board against the public. And I think that's a really unfair, quite manipulative statement to make. And I hear a lot of stuff from the board saying these false choices, whether it's like Enbridge pays for the equipment and for the hours of overtime, or it's the county, or it's the taxpayers. That's another false choice. There are other options within this. And I think my concern is that all of this stuff has been happening on Enbridge's timeline. And so the fact that that public did not have any sort of opportunity to have input on this, whether it's the protective equipment or the agreement with Enbridge, that's really concerning to me, because we see what's happening to our democracy at the federal level, and we don't exist in a vacuum. Like, that is also happening here. And I feel like this is our democracy that doesn't belong just to the people on this board, you know. And I feel like you guys, I really want to encourage you to really lean into, if you consider yourself a patriot, a patriotic person, if you believe in America, I really encourage you to really support public comment, support that we are on your team. This is all of our community. We want to have the best outcomes for our children, the best outcome for our elders. And so I really want to just encourage you as a board to start thinking of us more as your teammates. We're not here to like badger you, but if you do stuff behind closed doors, it really breaks our trust, and it's hard to regain that trust again. So I'm asking tonight that you please really protect our freedom of speech, our right to protest. Like I said before, my grandpa fought in World War II. He was a prisoner of war for a year and a half in Nazi Germany. Like, that is in my family. Fascism and repression from the state is not abstract in my family. And
Ellie, your time has expired, so.
okay, can I finish?
Yes,
that?
real
Okay.
quick.
Anyways, I would just ask you tonight to please take time, let there be a public input on the any sort of ordinance that you all adopt. I would ask that you do not take action on that tonight, and that you actually
Thank you for
give
your
the public
comments, Ellie.
comment, and also do not take money from Enbridge for the protective equipment. Thanks for your time.
Just a reminder, the faster we go, the more people can speak. So if you go over your allotted time, less people have the opportunity to speak. So try to hold it to 3 minutes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Geyer. I live here in Washburn. I want to speak to items 9 and 10. I think that if we take money from Enbridge for law enforcement, we put our law enforcement at risk. It breaks public trust. It gives the impression that the law enforcement have been hired by Enbridge, even if that's not how everyone sees it. That is the impression. And when that public trust between law enforcement and members of the public is broken, it's less safe for everyone involved. My sister recently retired from 20 years as a police officer in Ypsilanti, Michigan. She was deputized in Washtenaw County. And when I told her about what this was happening here, she was horrified. And this sounds like just the same type of stuff that would sometimes happen at her department, where the high up people would make a decision, but then the officers on the ground were the ones to pay the price, and the ones that were less safe, because it looks bad to the public, and the public don't trust them, and they think that all the cops are corrupted, and it becomes really ugly. So I encourage you to reject any of the agreements that involve direct money from Enbridge, those first two options of direct agreement or going through WCA. And then we can take a closer look at the ordinances over time after we have some time for public comment and for, lawyers and experts who don't have any conflict of interest involved to take a look at it and give us some good advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Right after this, Christopher, we'll get to you after this one. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Kim Sturm, and I'm from the township of Lincoln. Last time I was here, I talked about the Enbridge contract. I'm going to talk about that again tonight. But last time it was about the legal issues. This time it's about the money. I'd like a second legal opinion to review this contract, because in Article 2 on the second page, paragraphs 1 and 2 describe how the reimbursement is going to happen. And it makes a comment about allocation of funds into an escrow account. There's no time that's going to happen. There's no amount that's going to happen. It also says you can submit reimbursement requests, and the other party will decide whether it's going to be approved or not. So here we have two different ways that we might not get paid. And I would be concerned about any company saying, well, we don't have to pay you. But the real problem about that, because people do that all the time. This is what lawyers are for. But if you sign an agreement that says we agree to not be paid, we have no legal recourse. And there's two different ways they're doing it. And Enbridge is a bad actor, but this is just a regular company doing their stuff. Every other companies do it too. So I think they should be watching for that with other companies too. I don't understand why it doesn't talk about how much is where they're going to reimburse us. Why are we signing a contract with no numbers on it? Why are we signing a contract that says that we're okay if we don't get paid?
Thank you, Kim. Go ahead. Next, Christopher, you want to address the board?
Thanks very much. This is Christopher LaForge. I live in Oriented Township. Lots on the agenda tonight. I'm going to go point by point. First, I encourage you to pass Resolution 2026-34 in opposition to the redesignation of the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore into a national park. The lack of any environmental impact study, economic impact study, and even a study of the feasibility of the proposal warrants that the board pass this resolution. Thanks. I would like to address the two agreements that potentially would include the Wisconsin Counties Association in reference to reimbursement by Enbridge. If you look closely, in both of them, there is, I believe in Article 4 or 4.6, a discussion of the relationship of the parties. And it is saying that it is the intention of the parties to maintain an independent contractor relationship and not an employee relationship. Now, that's to keep the employer, Enbridge, here from having benefits costs and stuff like that. But let's pay attention. They're stating clearly they want to have independent contractors as our deputies. And I suggest that both of those agreement proposals are bad ideas because we don't want any of our deputies ever contracting as their official duties as independent contractors to a private entity. So I would encourage you to consider and develop the ordinances establishing cost recovery methods for extraordinary public safety services directly with the entity that creates the extraordinary public safety services. And there are two proposals in the agenda under number 10 about a community ordinance looking like the La Crosse example, and also D, a particular ordinance for cost recovery extraordinary public events. I'd also like to point out that it appears that you're considering creating permitting for public events, especially marches and public assemblies. And I would like to suggest that the county charging fees for the public right to assemble and walk down the street or the sidewalk, as it were, is not following our basic constitutional rights with reference to public assembly and things like walking on the sidewalk. Thanks very much for your time. Good luck with the meeting.
Thank you, Christopher. Go ahead. Either one, step forward.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess this is kind of.
Name?
Oh yeah. I'm Gene Germano. I'm from town of Hughes. So I guess this might be more in reaction to what I read in the Ashland paper a couple issues ago. But I read the piece that was talking about this meeting, and kind of what struck me is that I read the discussion about the legal theories around this, and it kind of, I had to, maybe if the DA might issue a clarification or something, but it kind of struck me when I read it about how compensation creates certain obligations. Well, I was wondering if, like, in the case that, like, if I have an interaction with the Iron River Police Department or maybe these gentlemen from the county if I should, I just paid my property taxes. And if I keep a copy of it there and I present it to them and I tell them, well, I'm sorry, sir, but we can't, you're going to have to call an officer from the state because I've provided financial compensation that's covered your wages. So you can't really be doing this interaction with me. I think as a middling barracks room lawyer, that's probably about as good as like a sovereign citizen argument. So I was just kind of thinking that this novel legal theory like that, it just kind of struck me as something that the piece implied. And I guess I didn't know how to process that. But I guess, well, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Gene.
My name's Bill Webb. I think we're going to go a little off course here because I'm here to talk about the county roads and barns being open up for the ATV trails. So am I in the right spot?
Yeah,
Okay.
talk about
I just-
anything you want.
Oh, okay. So my name is Bill Webb. My wife is Kelly Webb. We are officers of the Lake Country ATV Club in Barnes. We're here to represent the ATV Club and the town of Barnes. We are proposing that a portion of N be opened up from Y to the intersection of A and N, which is just past tracks. There's about 1.75 miles of a section that is closed. The rest of the road is open, which is very confusing to people who are riding their ATVs. There is a trail that they have to get off of N and then ride. But if that trail is closed due to weather and other circumstances, they can't go any farther. Then it comes back out and then it opens up from P's up to A. And now they can ride on N. So what we're asking is you open up N, which is already open, from Y all the way to the intersection of A. And then what we're also asking is that we open up A from N up to 8 Mile Lake Road because there's probably about 6 homes and cabins along A that have no access to the ATV trail because they have to access the trail by going down A, which is illegal. So, this is all this still remains in the town of Barnes. So, if there's any questions that you have when you vote on it, we're here to answer any questions and help you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Good evening. My name is John Olson, town of Washburn, live out there on Church Corner Road up there on top of Hungry Hill or Maple Hill. I'm here to try and address some concerns I have reading through some of those contract resolutions. In my 42 years as a state employee, I worked on and administered hundreds of contracts and issued lots of purchase orders, hundreds of thousands of dollars of them, especially on forest habitat right here in Bayfield County. I just edited an agricultural contract just yesterday at our sugar bush. My one word I'd like to try and address is transparency. I'm really concerned about some of these draft resolutions, and I would urge the board to follow the advice and the counsel of your own district attorney, our DA. And one quote that I read in one of her recent presentations, the conflict of interest here is straightforward. The entity benefiting from law enforcement activity is financially involved in funding it. And I think that is a little bit nervous for most of us. The other thing is the transparency part of it. When I read the corporate counsel's wording, he says in the topic transparency, no agreement can override Wisconsin's open records laws. Payment records will likely be subject to disclosure, likely. However, would not be subject to open records between WCA and Enbridge. And then he stated it is unclear what communications would occur beyond payment processing. I definitely opposed to this third-party entity and being involved in our county. And I think it has a real strong implication of denial of open records. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Before we go any further, we've exceeded the 15 minutes that we appropriated at this time. Actually, we've talked 20 minutes. So it's up to the board if they want to increase the time for public comment at this time or not.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to extend the public comment portion for another 15 minutes.
Okay, there's a motion by Jan to extend public comment an additional 15 minutes. Is there a second to that motion? There's a second by Steve. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My name is Linda Jorgensen. I live in the town of Bayview, right on the outskirts of Washburn. I've spoken before. I want to just reiterate tonight that I think you should dump any connection with the WCA contract. I think it's a can of worms for you. I think you have the power to write a much clearer, much more direct, much more transparent agreement. The second part of this is that you separate completely the payment for law enforcement from any other enforcement that's required to address criminal behavior that's brought in by this pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
My name is Tina Rakelli, and I live here in Washburn. And I want to say that one of the reasons I stayed longer than the year I came out back in 2009 was the amount of civic engagement, the amount of people knowing each other, being able to have conversations and really open up, and also to have values that make for truly resilient communities. My background is in Metro Denver for many years, in Southern California for many years. And I know that some of you may be saying, oh my gosh, you're the people we don't want here, but your values mean a lot. And some of the things that I'm very concerned about have to do with items 9 and 10 about the equipment and about the relationship with the WCA and also the relationship with Enbridge. And my concern comes back to constitutionality, transparency, and public trust that some of us have talked about. The way this agreement, these conversations, these documents, the way they came into play was not in a manner that is really fitting of what we're about as a community that is not just resilient, but truly cares about each other and is knit together in that way. So we have the history, the intelligence, the heart for us to step back and to have agreements where there is public input, where there is transparency, where the gifts of democracy are honored is huge. So I would encourage us to, for you all, to not accept the funds from Enbridge, and also to look at and share in public comment what it is that is being asked for and the reasons and the why. And also I've heard good comments about having there be an ordinance for the recovery of extraordinary public safety services, to really think this through and have attorneys that have no vested interest go through and look at and be our protection. So again, that we not engage in things that divide the community this way, or that are not transparent, constitutional, and that erode the community public trust, which I believe those two items do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Hello, my name is Grace Stolen. I reside at 118.5 West Bayfield Street here in the city of Washburn. I'd like to thank you for your time today. I'm here to speak regarding the what is Currently, it's item number 10 in the original agenda, the agreements with Enbridge and the 2 ordinance proposals. The process by which this agreement came about has been deeply, deeply flawed. There have been a lot of issues with transparency. This agreement, it was added to the Sheriff's Committee agenda. I believe that was in February. The text of the original agreement was never made available to members prior to or during that meeting. Outside of that meeting, the contract was actually signed by the county sheriff before any legislative body of the county weighed in, reviewed any language, or took any formal vote. After that came to light, it was added to the full county board agenda last month. There was a motion to postpone any action on that. That motion failed. Then there was a motion to reject the agreement, which passed 10-2. After that, somehow, this agreement was brought back, and it came before the county executive committee. In that meeting, which I attended, the agreement was also voted down. There were changes to it. It was a substantial improvement, but it was voted down again. There have been 3 decisions made by this body not to advance it. For it to come back again after 3 votes, it raises a lot of concerns. I've talked to a lot of people in the community that also feel similarly about this, the issues with transparency, the issues with going against a board or vote of this body and continuing to bring this agreement along. There's some false choices that are being presented here. And one, I'll speak to very briefly on this agenda item. There's the 4 sub items, the 2 agreements, Enbridge, WCA, or the 2 ordinance proposals. Those are options. It doesn't have to be one out of the 4 options that is selected tonight. Regarding the ordinances, there is some language in the meeting narrative that suggests that those may need some additional time and review prior to final adoption. So I would ask that on those ordinances that you would postpone action on those tonight so that that due diligence can be taken. The other false dichotomy here is, are we, the taxpayers, paying for law enforcement services caused by, associated with this project, or is Enbridge paying for these services? There are only 2 isolated sites in Bayfield County where work will be done on this project. Most of it is in Ashland and Iron counties. The idea that there would be a steep financial cost facing the county, it's really hard to see how that could materialize. But there is a cost to this county in the loss of public trust by continuing to push this agreement along after those 3 decisions not to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Grace.
Hello, all. My name is Beth Garrett, and I have property outside of the town of Cornucopia.
Excuse me, could you say your name again?
Sure, Beth Garrett
Okay, thank you, Beth.
in the town of Bayfield. I am speaking to 2 things. I would like to voice my agreement that to please not pass, or please do pass the resolution in opposition to the national park designation. And then the other thing is to just register in support of more due diligence on these agreements or ordinances, establishing a relationship with a corporation and the police or sheriffs that we count on as citizens of this area. There should not be an overriding sense of obligation toward a corporation that may just influence in slight ways or great ways how a policing body feels about the people that are expressing their feelings and their rights about what happens in their backyard. So I would like to be added on the column of no votes for this agreement, for asking that it be reviewed, slowed down, and maybe reimagined entirely. there is no, I overheard someone saying, we haven't even passed that yet. And I feel like that yet is telling. Maybe that is why it's been brought up 3 times. It's almost inconceivable that we wouldn't bend to the will of a corporation willing to pay something. But maybe it's the wrong thing altogether. Maybe we don't need a lot of this gear to begin with. We haven't been told what it is, the nature of it, and that should come out, I think. It's just us. We shouldn't be the enemy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth.
Good evening. Tom Galazin from rural Bayfield, Valley Road, town of Bayfield. I'm not in favor of the lakeshore becoming a national park. It's one concern of mine tonight. The other overriding thing at this moment, I guess, is our association with Enbridge, and I'm hoping we don't have any. I really am not optimistic about having our law enforcement personnel involved in hauling off demonstrators or policing the so-called pipeline route, the reroute for Line 5. Some years ago, I'm not counting them, was it 15, 13? I watched my neighbor's house burn down in the summer. It was a cabin. Watched that burn to the ground. There were like 14, 15 other arsons that summer. A couple of years ago, we were robbed at the farm, and there were, again, a dozen or so robberies over a period of weeks. It was hard for them to be caught. Summer is a time of a lot of activity. You know, there's car accidents, there's drunkenness, there's misunderstandings, there's many, many people in the area. And the need for law enforcement seems to swell at that point. And I think it was mentioned at the last meeting that the law enforcement personnel, if they're let off on the Enbridge chase, that it would be on overtime. And I'm kind of concerned how much overtime our officers allowed in that circumstance. A couple hours, 6 hours, 8 hours a day, it can add up. I farm. I work a lot of overtime, and I know as the day gets longer, I get shorter with people, and I make poor decisions sometimes, and I get tired. And all this can be reflected on the law enforcement people as well. They're not robots and machines out there, and I'd hate to see them abusing county, Ashland County, Bayfield County residents, other people that are here. And I hate to see necessary enforcement within the county compromised by providing law enforcement for Enbridge. So please take that stuff into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, Chair, Supervisors. My name is Ben Pop, representing the American Birkebeiner. So like my friend from Barnes, just a quick switch of topics here. Later on in your consent agenda, recognizing the foundation and the events. So I want to thank you for that. We just partnered with UW River Falls to realize the economic impact of that event this last year was well over $30 million. The Junior Nationals event that was just held in Table and Telemark in the middle of March, typically a pretty slow time. There was well over $1 million spent in the township of Cable as well. So we were pretty proud of that and what it does for our community. We're hopeful that you'll come visit. We're in the process of getting more activities for the greater community, dog walking, bike riding, and the like. We think it's an important part of being healthy and being active outside. So thank you for that. And lastly, the participants and the foundation just recently participated in your carbon credit program, purchasing carbon credits. We want to thank you for being a part of that program. We think it does a lot for the greater good of the community. We believe that certainly managed forests along with recreation go hand in hand. So thank you for your foresight and willingness to work through that as part of the greater community. So on behalf of the foundation and all the participants and volunteers, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Ben.
Kelby Youngberg, Washburn, Wisconsin, 423 West Pine Street. I think it all comes down to trust. When we think about democracy and why it works, it's because people believe in the system and they believe it is there to protect them and to benefit them and to support them as people of America. So when I think about the Enbridge, all the things happening with Enbridge, all of the questions, what are we going to do as a board? I think about separating the connection with money from paying Enbridge supporting our law enforcement to support their work in their law enforcement jobs. I don't want Enbridge's money going into the county to support our sheriffs. I believe that the sheriffs need to be supported. A little side note, I was at the Bayfield County Towns Association meeting, and something that came out of that meeting was there's a lot of need for money. Everyone needs new roads. Everyone needs a new plow truck, and those are $250,000. Everyone needs more money. We need more people to do our volunteer first responders. There's not enough resources up here, and so we need to be creative, and we need to be thoughtful, and we need to think about how our decisions are going to impact our democracy and the trust of the Bayfield County residents. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one listener. We've exceeded our second 15 minutes, but we'll take one more before we decide as a board if you want to continue or not. So.
Thank you for taking me. I'm Paul Delmain, 132 North 6th Street, Bayfield. I will be brief. A lot of people have spoken their opposition to accepting any law enforcement monies from Enbridge. I also think we should not be accepting that. The conflict of interest is very clear. I'm, as a taxpayer, and happy to support our law enforcement, and I hate to see this corporation potentially paying for their services as some kind of security force. I think the chances of them coming into conflict with peaceful community members exercising their First Amendment rights is just too great. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, at this time, we've exceeded our second additional 15 minutes of time allotted for public comment. Does the board want to proceed with the agenda, or what are you thinking? Go on with the agenda? Okay, we'll proceed with our agenda at this time. Before we go any further, though, I think we missed out last month. I didn't introduce Aaron Tibbetts. I don't know if all the board members know Aaron at all, but this is Aaron Tibbetts, and she transferred up from child support, and she's now in the clerk's office. So we'll get to know her better. Okay, our next item would be discussion and possible action on an intergovernmental agreement providing for the creation of an Ashland Bayfield County 911 Public System Answering Point Commission. Mark.
Yes, Bayfield and Ashland County have established a joint dispatch operation. The first two county dispatch center in the state of Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Department of Revenue has funds available for a what they call an innovation grant, encouraging intergovernmental collaboration and transfer of services. In order to do that, the county created a commission that's been adopted by Ashland County. It's been recommended by the PSAP board, and it's now before the Bayfield County board this evening. The structure would be similar to the current board, but it would be a transfer to a commission. Potential revenues, potential grant revenues could range between $875 and $1.75 million in over the next 5 years. The action proposed this evening is to approve this agreement so that a grant application could be made.
Are there any questions for Mark at this time? Go ahead, Larry.
Very good job of explaining this, Mark. There are very few changes that are required for us to do this. And what you mentioned about forming a commission. So what we'll do is we'll disband the board, the committee that we have, and just change it to commission and re-elect new officers. So there's a lot of money at stake in this. And like Mark said, we're the first in the state to do this, and they're looking for us to set a good example. And I encourage everybody to support this.
Any other comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion at this time. Go ahead, Larry.
I'll make that motion that we approve this. What's the number? I don't know.
It's an agreement. It's
this resolution.
Agreement. What?
Agreement resolution.
I'll second it. Motion by Larry, second by Marty to approve the agreement for providing the creation of the Ashland County and Bayfield County 911 Public System Answering Point Commission. Are there any other questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor, go ahead. Got one? No, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Our next item is discussion possible action of the ATV ordinance amendments. You have them listed there at the town of Tripp, town of Barnes, and city of Washburn. Highway Committee, go ahead, Jim.
Well, I move for approval of the 3 sections to be added to open to ATVs.
Motion by Jim, second by Steve to approve the ATV ordinance amendments. Are there any questions or comments? Go ahead, Jim.
All 3 of these were brought to the Highway Committee by the towns in which they're located. And the simple reason is to allow access by residents so they can get to trails. And the one in Washburn is endorsed by the chief of police. And the whole idea is not that ATVs want to run on roads, but they want to get to trails. And in some cases, they can't get to trails. And also sometimes people use their ATVs to go to the neighbors. And the highway commissioner has polled the state and found that there are no instances of ATV automobile fatalities within the counties that have opened their roads to ATVs.
Larry?
I would request that we separate these 3 and vote on them separately. I have an issue with one of them, and 2 of them I could probably be talked into, but at this point, I definitely have an issue with A.
We have a motion already. Yes, Mr. Milanowski, I realize that. Jim, you made the motion. You and Steve, you want to withdraw your motion at this time and separate these?
Before I do, I want to mention.
Okay.
The concern with A is the same concern I had with County Highway M from Cable to Lakewoods Resort, because it's a highly traveled road. And we opened it to ATVs, what, a year ago? And there have been no incidents. And you don't see packs of ATVs on those roads. They're just trying to get to the trail. And so I just want to make that clear.
Does that answer any of your concerns, Larry?
No, and if anything, I think we have a point of order disagreement here because there was no discussion about grouping the three of them together or separating. I was not given a chance before the motion to request they be separated.
Jim? Steve? Withdraw your motion at this time? Okay, the motion is withdrawn by the first and second. And we'll go back to acting on each one of these individually. We'll start out with the town of Tripp, County H.A., Hoffren to Hesley, County B and A and B to Range Line Road. Is that the one you have in question, Larry? Go ahead.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that. I live in the area. I know how busy A can be at certain times of the day when school's in session, logging trucks are on it. And Jim brought up, they need to get from point A to point B. There are a lot of options in that area. There's lots of side roads. And actually, there's trails in the area that they could be on rather than.
Sorry, it's all falling apart. There we go.
So at this point, I am in favor, and I urge you all not to vote for A.
Any other comments?
Yep.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm also familiar with that area. I live not too far from there, and the road is very fast. A lot of traffic on there, and I also agree that there are other alternatives, both trails on both sides of A and just a lot of other opportunities. So I would also encourage you to vote no on that.
Sue?
Yes, I also would encourage us not to approve A or the others as far as that goes. And for a couple of reasons. One, the board has already considered opening up more segments of county roads. We've done that at least twice, voted them down for a number of reasons, and those reasons still remain. That includes not following the rules or speed limits, driving under the influence, leaving debris and refuse in their wake, not respecting other road users. If I feel the need to approve any of these, I would like us to consider approving them only if the ATV clubs that are promoting them would develop and enforce rules of conduct to address some of these issues.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Larry.
Thank you for giving me this a second time here. It was a year ago when we were debating this issue before. I was in a town board meeting in Port Wing, and there were 21 people there. And I asked the crowd if they would be in favor of opening up County Road A between Port Wing and Iron River. 21 people voted no out of 21.
Marty?
You know, I heard this argument before, Larry, with you, and I know the last time we brought this up, we had to reroute, and that's where all the traffic was headed when they were doing all the work in Washburn here. But this continues to keep coming back up. So if everybody's negative against having these roads open up, why do the towns keep bringing them back up here to the county board? We don't request any roads getting open. So apparently there can't be that many people that are against these. There must be more that are for them to open up. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming back up to the highway committee so we can approve them there. So I don't know if that was just a luck of the draw. You had 21 people there, but apparently they still have the same people in charge or whoever's running it over there, but they're bringing it back up here again. So, and I'm sure we're going to see it another one come up if we disapprove it again.
Okay, before we move on, supervisors, just a reminder, address the chair, don't address each other at the meeting, so it doesn't come personalities and stuff. Okay, one last time, Larry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to respond that I have never seen the town of Port Wing, the town of Clover, the town of Bell, or Orienta make a position in favor of ATV routes.
Okay, with that said, Larry, you want to
Mr.
make a
Chair,
motion?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jan, go ahead.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm also very familiar with the area of A, and I'm familiar with the Washburn one. I'm not as familiar with the one south down in Barnes, but I'd like to address A first. And I know we've talked about this before, but so I'm a bit of a broken record on this, but we know through documented information from the producers of vehicles, of ATVs and UTVs, that these vehicles are not designed for roadways. They're designed for off-road use, and we know that people still use them on the roads, and that's, you know, as long as those roads have been approved, obviously they're going to use them. But I would say that, you know, many of them do not have airbags. They don't have mirrors, they don't have indicators, and County A is 55 miles an hour. And there's a lot of traffic, as Larry said, buses and trucks and vehicles of people going back and forth. So I would not be in favor of A. I have a question about the County Highway C. It has not, this section has not been open, and the argument being used is that we should open it up because of the construction that's going to happen. I think that's a very valid argument. I'm wondering, would it be outrageous to suggest that it be temporarily opened during the period of construction? Or would that then open up, you know, it'd be very hard to tell people not to drive on it once they have driven on it, sort of Pandora's box thing, but that would be a suggestion to consider, possibly having it temporarily be opened due to the construction period. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but any road that is open to ATV, UTV use at any time can be closed by our highway commissioner. So for no reason, technically. Go ahead, Jeff Olson.
Yes, thanks, Ms. The opening up of C is to is kind of a detour to take the ATV traffic off of Washington Avenue during the detour. The lot of traffic is going to be rerouted up Washington, and they wanted to have access to the city that didn't include the detour and all the traffic there that is Washington Avenue. And as Jim said, the sheriff came into the highway committee and asked for that route as being the safest. Part of that Highway C is 25 miles an hour and part is 35 miles an hour. So it is not a full-on fast highway road.
That was the police chief, Jeff.
Police chief. Yeah, police chief. Right.
Okay, board motions. Go ahead, Jim. We're going to act on the on the trip first.
I want to reiterate what Marty said. It's not the highway committee that's all in favor. It's the towns that are asking for it to be open. And as far as the highway committee and the highway department, every one of these 50 sections we've got open has to be signed, have to have a sign on either end. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of expense.
Larry, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we oppose the item A on the ATV routes.
I'll second.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Jeff Holte. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on this, people.
Would you please repeat the motion?
The motion is to deny the ordinance amendment for County A in the town of Tripp. It's to deny. So if you want to deny it, you vote yes. If you oppose or want it open, then you vote no. Go ahead, Lynn.
Sandstrom.
It's deny. It's to deny. So a yes vote would be to deny the opening.
Fickbaum.
Yes.
Olson, Strand,
No.
Milanowski, Roguski, Doherty,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Crandall,
No.
Hossernich,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Holte, and Lee.
Yes. Yes.
Is 7 yes, 6 no.
So the motion to open is
To deny.
to deny is approved.
Correct.
Okay, next one, Town of Barnes.
I moved to open Town of Barnes County and from Kickapoo to Pease. And
Motion by,
as noted.
okay,
I second it.
motion by Jim, second by Marty. Are there any additions or corrections or comments on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next one, City of Washburn, County C. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to open up County C.
Motion
Big
by
Rock.
Marty,
I'll second.
seconded by Jeff Olson. Are there any additions or comments on this?
Yes.
Go ahead, Sue.
I would suggest we put in the motion that it is temporarily open during the period of time of the construction, because otherwise it may never be reversed.
Any other, Charlie, were you going for your mic?
Sue covered it.
Okay. So you want to make a motion to amend the motion to open it?
Yes.
You want to make a motion that we temporarily open County C during construction
That's correct.
to ATV, UTV use?
Thank you.
Is there a second to that amendment?
I'd second that amendment, and that's construction on Washington or on 13,
Okay. During construction.
during construction on Highway 13.
Highway 13. Okay, we'll first vote on amendment. All those in favor of amending the primary motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Lynn, help me out here. We're gonna do a roll call vote. Last time I did it, we got in trouble, so let's just do a roll call vote. Okay, this is the amendment, and the amendment is to just temporarily open County C for ATV, UTV use.
Okay. Ray,
Yes.
Yes.
Olson, Roguski,
Now, Jeff Olson, did you understand what the amendment is? It's a temporary opening.
Temporarily to open the.
Yep, okay.
Route.
Just want to make sure everybody understands that, okay? Go ahead,
Sandstrom, Rose,
Yes.
Hossernich.
Point of order, please, if I may.
go ahead.
Thanks. I'm wondering when people are voting, if they could please turn their mics on, because I can't hear what's happening.
Well, we're sorry,
I'm
Jan.
just saying.
Okay. Milanowski,
No.
Holte,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Bickbaum,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes. Yep.
Strand,
No.
Crandall, eight.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, you didn't call me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. You said yes.
Okay.
It's a short memory.
Oh, man. It's be a long night.
Okay. There are 8 yes and 5 no. Motion carries.
The amendment carries. Now back to the original motion to open the road on County C with as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. So County C will be open temporarily during construction
Correct.
of Highway 13, correct? Okay, now done with that one. Now we're back to discussion and possible action on Sheriff Office Protective Equipment Resolution 2026-27. Mark, I'm going to give this to you.
This has been a topic over the past several months. This topic was referred to the Sheriff's Committee after the last, went to both the Executive Committee and it was referred on to the Sheriff's Committee. A presentation was made and I think the Sheriff is prepared to make another presentation. The topic here is protective equipment for the Sheriff's Office for the Enbridge pipeline project. The resolution that's before the board this evening has approves, if approved, it would authorize the purchase of the protective equipment, either using county funds, fund balances, or other funds. Could be Enbridge or they could be other funds. They could be through an agreement or they could be through an ordinance. Yes, yes, yes. He's here. He's here.
Okay, the sheriff has, I should say, a presentation in relation to this at this time to clarify what's going on. Go ahead.
Sure.
Sheriff.
And like I said, I understand everybody's concerns, valid concerns. But I just want to stress that this isn't about Enbridge or policing Enbridge. It's about getting personal protective equipment for my deputies for everyday use. The amendment did have like $111,000, I think. We've been working with the companies and it's down to like $103,000 right now. But again, this is about personal protective equipment that my guys and girls will use every day. My deputies will use it all the time. My chief deputy put together kind of a slideshow presentation. We'll see if this works here. But we just wanted to say that, our deputies are expected to respond to violent and unpredictable situations in this county. We've got deputies here. I've got deputies across the street. I have deputies online. And just in the past couple of weeks, the men and women that are here to protect you guys have responded to incidences like these right here. The violent arrest, domestic assaults, drug-related, armed suspects, and mental health crises. They took an oath to protect the people of this community, and at times that oath does require them to place themselves in harm's way. Within the last month or two, my deputies were at, we have an emergency response team, they're the only one in the area. And there was a call in the city of Ashland of a armed suspect who was in the basement of his house shooting off a gun in his house. We get the call. We went there. Our deputies are the ones that handled that call, helping out Ashland County because they don't have the team that we do. We've got certain equipment. I'll show you kind of what we have here shortly. And it's out of date. It's old, but we responded to this call and helped with that situation. Just last week, I think it was, we got a call of a suspect walking in town of Ulu. He had a red sheet as a cloak. He was carrying antlers. He had chains tied around his arms and his waist. We got a call that he was trying to stop cars. When cars stopped, he told them that God told him that he had to assault people. And then he was reaching for something. They thought he was reaching for a weapon. They took off, and we have to respond to that. We respond to this. He was clearly having a mental health crisis, and we were able to respond and give him the help he needed and get him where he was going. But that could have been a violent situation. We didn't know if he had a knife, if he had a gun, what equipment we would need. But that's just another call that, we have to go to every day. It's on, these calls, we don't know what we're getting into. We don't know what's happening. Uh-oh. Well, wait, I have to turn it on. I got a blue light. Oh, did you plug that in? All right. Yeah, can you try to hit the next slide for me, maybe? Oh, there we go. So to safely respond to high-risk incidences, we are requesting protective equipment that is designed to reduce injury. And I think are we one step ahead? Is that number 2? Maybe we're right. Okay, thank you. And all deputies to safely perform their duties. This equipment includes helmets, face shields, gas masks or respirators, eye protection, protective gloves, and hearing protection with communication devices. Each of these items serves a specific purpose: to protect deputies from head injuries, chemical exposure, chemicals, drugs, bodily fluids, and allow them to communicate clearly during chaotic and dangerous situations. So the reality is this type of protective equipment is already considered standard safety equipment in other public safety professions. Helmets, face shields, like gas masks. People get afraid when we say gas masks. Is it military? What do we have gas masks for? We conduct search warrants. We're doing search warrants for fentanyl. We do search warrants, heroin, and a lot of these places you have to go into, and there's dangerous drugs and chemicals, and we need the gas mask for that. We use them for the suspect I was talking about in the city of Ashland, where he was armed in the basement of his house. We would deploy chemicals in there to try to get him out so we don't have to go into a home with a subject with a gun. But ultimately, that's the safest for everybody in the outcome, because the last thing we want to do is involve them in a shooting, but we can't let someone in a home in the city of Ashland be firing a weapon around, which has a high probability of injuring somebody else. So now I'm going to show you the equipment. When firefighters enter dangerous and unpredictable environments, we ensure that they have protective equipment needed for their safety. They have helmets, they have face shields, they have respirator protection, they have gloves, they have communication equipment, and those are all considered standard safety gear for firefighters. And deputies face the same dangerous situations as well. And here's the same equipment right there that the firefighter just had. In my 30 years of service, I've personally been punched, kicked, spat on by someone with hepatitis, and been involved in a shooting while performing my duties as a deputy. And then many of the deputies, the ones here, the ones across the street, and the ones online, have experienced similar violence in the course of their careers. We understand this is a part of our profession we chose. We do not do this because we do this because we believe in serving the community. This is not hypothetical. We have one of our deputies right now is off duty and recovering from surgery because of a violent arrest that he was involved in. If you can, did I turn? Oh, there we go. Never mind. So is it the equipment or is it the color of the equipment? Sometimes equipment like this can be described as militarized, but when the same equipment is worn by firefighters, it's simply called safety equipment. The equipment itself isn't different. The purpose is the same: protection. And now would we not buy that firefighter that equipment now because it's green and now it looks militarized compared to the equipment that I'm asking for that we need for our deputies? And as you can see, it's basically the same equipment. Oops. So tonight, we're simply asking that our deputies be given the same protection needed to safely do their job they were sworn to do. And the militarized concern is, I understand the concern. The equipment we're requesting isn't about changing how deputies police or creating a militarized presence. It's about protecting them when they are placed into a violent and unpredictable situation. The purpose of this equipment is the same reason firefighters wear helmets and respirators, to reduce injury and allow them safely to do their jobs. And like I said, with the firefighters, they run into burning buildings, which we don't do. That's why they have the different helmets. They have different kind of respirator. What my staff does is they're going towards gunfire. We need ballistic helmets. We have stuff thrown at us. They need the shields. They need the helmets. This isn't new stuff. In fact, right here. Similar stuff that my deputies wear, that they carry. And now this does look militarized. This is a military helmet. This is one of the helmets that my deputies have to wear right now. This was manufactured January of 2013. Generally, these ballistics have a shelf life of 5 years. So this is the helmet that my deputy wears. We're looking at different helmets, more similar to that one up there. That's ballistic. You can see the ear protection it has. The ear protection we have now, basically, they're your range hearing protection. We can't talk on the radios. If you have the gas mask, you can't talk on the radios. We can't hear dispatch. Again, because it was so recent, the situation in Ashland. I was there. I don't have this stuff. I didn't have this on. I was right behind our Humvee, and we got word that I needed to get information to my deputies as they were running up to the house to start trying to get this guy out. I couldn't communicate with them. I had to run up to him, catch him, and pat him on the shoulder to get them back to give them information, because the equipment we have now doesn't. Here's the gas mask that we would wear. We would wear this in the emergency response teams going into a residence and have to deploy gas. If we have to go on a search warrant and there's possible fentanyl or heroin, I mean, some homes, you just need a gas mask because of the condition. You can't even hardly see through these. They're so old. These are old military gas masks. That's how we got the equipment. These are probably as old as this helmet. So we're not looking at equipment we're looking at equipment to keep my deputies safe for everyday violence, everyday things that happen. I don't think, people don't realize the search warrants that we do, the number of warrants that we do, the number of gun calls that we are involved in, the number of suicidal persons that we have to go to that are armed, that we want, we'd hope for the best resolution possible and to be well equipped. Like I say, this is the same equipment. If we, God forbid, we ever have an active shooter, my deputies are going to respond. And what equipment, if that's your child or your loved one in a high situation like that, a dangerous situation, what equipment do you want my deputies to have on when they're going into that building to save your loved one? My list is a helmet. You want them to have a protective helmet, face shield. You want them to have a face shield so they don't get anything into their eyes when they're going into this situation to protect your child. The glasses, the regular glasses that help protect you in case of shrapnel. It's called a Liberator 4. All that is is a newer one of these that actually hooks up to your radio. So when you have your earmuffs on and your radio, your helmet on, you can actually hook your radio up to it and you can talk to dispatch, you can talk to the other team, and you can talk to people with these on. Then it also has a microphone that hooks up into the gas mask. So you can communicate to people outside of the gas mask and you can talk on your radio. Same thing the firefighters have. And then a gas mask. That's it. That's the equipment we've been asking for. That's the equipment we need. The overall cost looks like a lot, $103,000. When you look at it, it's $4,500 per deputy is what it costs to keep my deputies safe, $4,500 for each one. When you look at the response that we had for that Ashland call, we had the deputies who were on duty, but we also had like 8 deputies respond from their homes. So you have to have their equipment in their squads. We don't know where the situation is going to be. We don't know what's going to happen. The situation could be in Washburn. The situation could be in Barnes. The situation could be in Port Wing. And the deputies who are closest at home are going to respond. And it's, I don't know. I just can't stress it enough that this is, I understand the concerns and how people think that it's going to be involved with everything else. But my focus, my main thing is I want to keep my deputies safe so we can keep the community safe. Just like I tell the deputies, if they're responding to a call and they're going lights and siren, we call it 1033, they're going fast to a call. We stress, drive safe, don't go too fast. You don't want to be involved in a crash. If you get into a crash on the way there, you can't do the person you're responding to any good. It's the same thing with this equipment. If I don't have this equipment for my deputies and they're having to go into a building, they're having to go into a home and they get hurt, now they can't go in and help that person because now we're having to tend to a deputy. And that's why we need this equipment. That's all I have unless people have questions.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone have a question at this time for the sheriff? Jan, go ahead.
Thank you. It's not so much a question as it is. I know we talked about this at the last sheriff's meeting. Sheriff, thank you very much for being here. I know that it was just a correction to the resolution that I think the resolution still says 18, and I believe you said it's actually 23, maybe 22 or 23.
Yeah, I think Mark made a correction or was going to make a correction.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I that should be it should be 23.
23. Okay. Thank you.
Any, go ahead, Larry.
I want to get off a little bit. And at the last sheriff's meeting, there were approximately 6, possibly 8 deputies there. I missed the opportunity to thank you guys. I'm familiar with the South Shore ambulances, and there's been 3 situations where the deputies have beat the ambulance there. And one situation, they already had started the defibrillator before the ambulance got there. Thank you guys, appreciate it a lot. But anyway, on this subject, I joined the Port Wing Fire Department in 1993. I spent over 30 years there. After training, I was fitted for turnout gear like he showed up here. I had to use it once in 30 years. And that was, we had 2 victims in the house. And I put on the gas mask and was ready to go in. And incident commander said it was fruitless and not to go in. And so I never used them. That doesn't mean I didn't need them. But we don't know what's on the horizon. You know, with what this country is now, if we have somebody attempting to limit our voting power, there's going to be demonstrations. We can never tell if the white supremacist or any left-wing organization will be there and it'll be a violent demonstration. The county deputies are county employees. They're hired, they're paid, they're trained by the county. Let's protect them. They need to turn out gear that will keep them safe. I am totally opposed to Enbridge even giving us a dime on this. This is county's responsibility. The county needs to pay or to suit these guys up in protective gear. And like I say, we don't know what's on the horizon. It could come at any time.
Thank you, Larry. Marty?
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of shocked, Tony, that we didn't have this equipment already. And when we learned about it, that's the first thing I was thinking when we're going out on these operations and you don't know what you're going to run into. All our officers should already have equipment that fits tight, should be updated every year or every few years, you know. So you're always getting different officers and every uniform doesn't fit the same. But I think everybody in this room would agree. We want you guys to be the best protective you can be when you go out, whether it's a riot or, you know, or just you know, drug, you know, whatever we're getting into, but we should be prepared and every officer should have that in their vehicle ready to go. So I'm in support with this resolution and I'm just shocked that we don't have this already. So.
Go, Mary.
Want to go? Thank you, Tony. I really wish we would have had this presentation before because this whole thing came up because of Enbridge. And that sounds like very unfortunate timing. That caused, you know, this is why I'm still remain very concerned about the speed at which all this is moving. I just want to go back to, this came up to our county board February 16th. We're looking at March 31st, 6 weeks in. And, you know, we've got the reimbursement agreement. We also have what it sounds like, Tony, is that there is a need for this equipment for the folk, you know, your deputies, because it's not just for Enbridge. But even tonight, I heard you, you know, just I think we're so used to talking about this stuff for Enbridge, even the slip of the tongue perhaps, but for you as well. And so I think I'm frankly struggling with this because Larry's point is well taken. You all are county employees. You need what you need to do your job. And also, we have a lot, this came to us through the Enbridge reimbursement, that Enbridge is going to pay for this. And so I do want to see you all be appropriately outfitted. I do not want to see Enbridge pay for one dime of this. This is like, I want to echo what Larry said. This is a county responsibility to the folks that work for us, not Enbridge's.
Right. Interesting. I was going to bring up the same thing that I do think the situation with Enbridge initiated this, and it's even mentioned in the resolution, anticipated Enbridge project. So I'm going to vote in favor of this. I'm not opposed to it, and I agree with Mary that the county should protect the deputies. But I'm going to make another point, and that is, if in fact the sheriff's department needed this equipment, I can't believe that need began in February. We could have anticipated this last year when we were building the budget and included it in the budget. I have been disappointed in the number of budget amendments that we deal with that add money to the budget after the budget has been passed. And I think that we, as a county or as a board, could perhaps do a better job at anticipating expenses like this that exceed $100,000 in the budget. So I'm going to support this, but I wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Gabe, go ahead.
I don't have the resolution.
Okay, you want to make a motion to approve the resolution For Sheriff Office Protective Equipment Resolution number 2026-27.
Yes, 2026-27 budget amendment for sheriff protective safety equipment.
Motion by Jan. Is there a second? Seconded by Larry. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Fred.
It was previously pointed out that the resolution should say 23 officers instead of 18.
Yes, thank you. I'll redo the motion to approve resolution 2026-27 budget amendment for sheriff protective safety equipment with the correction of from 18 officers to 23.
Is that okay with the second, Larry?
Yes.
Okay, the motion's on the table to approve the resolution. We'll need a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair.
Mark.
Just one item, if you go down a little bit, right now we have the funding for it coming from two potential spots. One of them is from a increase in revenues and the second one is from fund balance. And I hear you saying the preference would be just fund balance, which would be the second line item. But we wouldn't be looking for third-party revenues on this. So that should also be noted.
Does that need to be a part of the motion?
Fred.
Oh, the motion on the floor is to approve the resolution with the one change in number of officers. I request that that's what we deal with.
Correct. We're voting on the resolution as presented to us with the correction from 18 officers to 23. Everything else will stay the same on the resolution at this time. So that's what you're voting on. That resolution that's in front of you. Go ahead, Sue.
Well, the resolution then includes a figure of 111, and Tony said it was closer to 103.
Correct. Hopefully he only spends 103. But
Okay.
to some extent, yes, I understand where you're coming from, but if we approve 103, he comes in at 111, then, you know, we're gonna have to come back and amend the amendment motion. Go ahead, Mary.
So this is a procedural question. So this resolution as written, which is on the floor,
Yep.
says either increase revenues or fund balance revenues. If we don't want to have it come from Enbridge, can we make an amendment to specify fund balance revenues? For the Jan who made the motion, I would make an amendment to that and seek a second, and then we'd vote on that, and then we'd vote. Is that
Okay,
how it
so
works?
you want to amend the resolution to take out increased revenues.
Correct.
Also, do you want to amend the motion where on the first whereas?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to amend the motion to remove
First,
And second, first and second, whereas.
because they speak to the cost recovery. Right? Yep. And then in the,
no, you can amend the motion.
yeah, I mean, we need to take maybe this, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if the structure of this particular resolution as written, because we technically then I would want to strike the first three, my amendment would be to strike the first three whereases and then remove reference to anticipated revenue and then now therefore be resolved. But those are major structural changes, so I don't know if that's appropriate for this.
I think that's a good point. I think if the board voted, made a motion that would allow the sheriff's office to proceed, just a general motion, and then we would come back at the next meeting with a tuned
Okay,
resolution.
we got a motion on the floor right now that we approve this resolution. So if that's what Mark's explaining, I would suggest you vote the resolution no on this resolution.
Fair enough.
Then we'll proceed with the next item. So with that said, we need a roll call vote.
Okay.
Sandstrom. Ray.
I need clarification is, do you want this resolution or not? Yes or no? No amendments to it except the 18 to 23.
No.
Olson.
No.
Milanowski. Roguski.
No.
Crandall. Doherty.
No.
Dick Bum.
I just want to clarify, if this is defeated, we get a second chance to make a,
It's not a resolution though that we're gonna make. We're gonna make a motion. We could possibly make a motion to proceed and take it from fund balance.
Lee.
No, no.
Strand.
yes.
Pulte.
No.
Rose.
No.
Pasternak.
Yes.
See if I missed anybody. Okay, 4 yes and 9.
The
No.
motion was defeated to approve the resolution. Okay? Now, if someone wants to make a motion to pay for the funds out of the fund balance, the floor is open, or whatever motion you want to make. Go ahead, Steve.
I move that we approve this purchase and that it comes from revenues from fund balance.
We better state the amount you want in to approve.
$111,570.
Okay.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
There's a motion on the floor to move forward with the purchase of the equipment not to exceed $111,570 and to come from fund balance revenues. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second.
We give it to Jan? Okay, motion by Steve, seconded by Jan. Any other questions? We all understand? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You got it, Mark?
We would be coming back. This would be an effective motion to proceed, but we would still come back at the next meeting with an updated resolution. So
You
that for
do
the budget
that.
amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, roll call this.
Okay. Okay. Pasternak.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Sandstrom.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Crandall. Roguski.
Yes.
Dick Bum.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Milanowski. Pulte.
Yes.
Strand.
Yes.
Yes.
Olson. Lee.
Yes, yes.
12 yes, 1 no.
The motion carries, Marty. Okay, we got that done. Now we'll move on to our next item would be discussion possible action regarding public safety reimbursement agreements and the ordinances. The 4 items as listed. Mark, you want to take this?
Yes, I would like to begin. I want to apologize for the process that we followed. Several people have noted how we've been rushed in this process, and I think our discussions so far this evening have testified to that. I wanted to provide just a little bit of background. The county board heard this issue in February. Board members did not have enough time to review this. Several board members expressed that they didn't understand the concept in totality. That is, I think, the main reason why it came back to the county executive committee for consideration. At the executive committee, there were 2 votes. One of them was 4-2 or 2-4, not to bring this back to what the motion was. Should we have a recommendation to bring this back to the county board? That failed on a 2-4 vote. There was also a motion to say, should the county not seek any reimbursement on this? And that failed on a 0-6 vote. There was also discussion that followed where several board members expressed interest in exploring Enbridge as a funding source. Some said no, some said we want to look at alternatives. In the end, the recommendation was for Corporation Council to come back to the county board with a alternative recommendation. What you have this evening is 4 different items. They can be grouped into 2 categories. The first 2 are agreements, and the second 2 are ordinances. The first 2 are specific agreements with Enbridge or with WCA and Enbridge. The second 2 are ordinances that could be passed by the county that would not require a specific agreement with a specific entity. I think that is something that Mary has asked for probably all along, a neutral agreement that would not involve a specific a contract with a specific entity. The agreements that you have, the first one is a modified WCA Enbridge agreement. Again, WCA was kind of acting as an intermediary. They offered, similar to the way the state of Minnesota provides services, provides similar services. I think the pipeline company gave the state a grant, and the state granted law enforcement agencies. So there was a separation. So the intent in this situation was very similar for WCA to kind of act as that intermediary, and for them to say, hey, if there is a valid law enforcement public safety expense, then a WCA would evaluate that and approve or disapprove. So that's the first agreement, which is the modified agreement that what the county, similar to what the county saw in February. The second agreement is a direct agreement, no WCA. It's supposed to be identical, virtually identical, except for the exclusion of WCA from the agreement. Again, it addresses many of the concerns, hopefully, or I believe all of the concerns that were initially raised with the first agreement. So those are two options if the county wanted to pursue an agreement with Enbridge. That said, the district attorney is here, and we've heard many of the concerns that they've raised, that the district attorney raised regarding conflict, and we heard some of citizens speak about that as well. The second 2 agreements the second 2 items are ordinances. The first one is borrowed from the city of La Crosse, and that's a community events ordinance, and it hasn't been tailored to Bayfield County besides name and some minor changes in the agreement, but it gives you a flavor for what a community events ordinance might look like and the ability for a local unit of government to charge fees. The second agreement that Kelly was instrumental in preparing, following the guidelines and the recommendations from county board members, is a cost recovery public safety ordinance that Bayfield County could adopt and utilize that, not in any situation that we're in, whether we're working with a community or whether we're working with a specific entity. Based on where we are right now, I would recommend that we pursue the ordinance approach. I think the ordinances, while they're not ready for prime time yet, I think they still need work. I think that they could address the many community concerns that have come up, as well as the district attorney's concerns, and still provide potentially a solution to the county. The cost recovery ordinance sets a baseline to say, hey, here's the baseline, here are the services that the county provides. Services above and beyond that, both for labor as well as for equipment, could be factored in It may not be this exact same result, but it would be I believe the terms that's been used, a neutral framework for recovering actual and reasonable costs of extraordinary public safety services. That's a quick summary. Again, Kelly has prepared a variety of documents and forms that could be filled out by an applicant. It's still in rough, but the document that you have in front of you has, with some details, has, you know, some specific dollar amounts. The county would set the fees. So if it costs $72 an hour for a law enforcement officer and you had an hour of law enforcement officer, you would be paying $72. But that's what's before you, and that's, I'll happy to answer any questions, and Kelly can answer details on the ordinance.
Yes, go ahead, Steve. Mike, your microphone.
Point of order.
Yes.
Do we need a motion on the floor to discuss these? We can,
Now, what we've been doing is doing a lot of discussion before we make a motion to.
That's all right.
Yeah.
okay,
You want to discuss anything?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this obviously has been something that has taken a lot of time and a lot of phone calls with people and emails and everything else. And I personally have a real problem with A and B. And I think we should eliminate those two options personally. And then focus on the ordinance ideas of this. And I would make a motion to that effect.
Well, let's have a little bit further discussion before we
All
get
right.
caught up. All right, here. Go ahead. Marty had his on, then Jim.
Well, the first question is, how, if we just voted on a resolution that we're not going to recover any funds from Enbridge, what good are any of these proposals if we're not going to go after the funds? That's what I want to understand.
Yeah.
What good is this then?
Yeah, well, in my mind, what that means is that we're not going to have a formal agreement with anybody. But when we have community events like Apple Fest and we provide traditional services, this would be a guideline for how we charge those services. If we have a private entity that approaches us and says, hey, we're going to have this big event, or this is going to happen, and the county's providing over our standard baseline services, we would be able to, they would be able to fill out a form and we could provide those services.
Well, I understand that, but that agreement we should already had with those guys, with Apple Fest and all that. That should have been an already agreement, but we don't.
Correct, we don't.
So what I'm saying is, if you guys don't want to get any money back from Enbridge, what are we even arguing about over here then?
No, I
To
think
recover anything? Kelly, you want to answer that?
I think the equipment, I think the equipment item is strictly saying that regardless, whether we have this ordinance, whether we have an agreement, that the county is paying for the protective equipment because we need it for our officers, period. If the county also has a recovery ordinance for expenses that would be across the board and not specifically with one entity, then those revenues would come back to the department. They wouldn't go directly towards that equipment, but they would come back to the department and reimburse overall expenses.
Kelly's got a comment.
So some of the documents that have been put before you all this evening, and I know I can share with the folks online, are some of the supplementary documents that are just examples of what we could use if it was the option 4 ordinance in place. And that one is pretty explicit about recovering actual expenses, which means that, the hourly wages, whatever things that they do above and beyond ordinary levels of service. If they're just responding for crowd control, and that's something they would do in their daily operations, then we're not going to chase reimbursement for that. But if they ask for an officer on standby for an extended period of time, anything like that, we certainly will, or if it's in a different county. When it comes to the equipment, that's kind of where we get back into this area of the discussion about, is Enbridge buying this gear? And in order to make sure that it's pretty clean and straightforward and that there's no even perception of sort of, benefit, there are a couple of ways to approach it, right? One would be that the sheriff's department leases the equipment, and then they can pass the actual cost of that lease agreement on to be reimbursed by whatever entity has signed up with the agreement for the event under the new ordinance. The other option is that, say those, the new gear has a 10-year shelf life and they use it particularly for this for the next 3 to 5 years, they could recover 30 to 50% of the cost of it. But because it's a durable good that they can still use after that project is over, we have to assume some of the responsibility for part of the cost for that, for it to be fair and transparent and not give the impression of, some kind of sweetheart deal. I hope that makes sense. So, I mean, while we're referring to the second one as an ordinance, there is a framework within it to have these agreements, but it's a standard agreement that applies to every single entity that's hosting an event or doing an activity that might require extra public safety expenses. And that's not just the sheriff's department. It could be if the highway department has to put up barricades and route traffic, or if somebody wants emergency management to have an ambulance on site. There are a lot of other ways that we might end up with county costs going into those kinds of things. So it's a framework that can apply to a short-term event or an extended one. And I've included in the packet in front of you examples of what both of those agreements might look like.
Historically, we've had informal agreements, and so this would formalize kind of our past practice.
Go ahead, Crandall.
When some of the numbers that we've heard or I've heard regarding Line 3, the protests with Line 3 over in Minnesota, talked about law enforcement costs running into the millions of dollars. I heard $5 million. Okay, I don't know if that's the number at all. And so how we started talking about getting reimbursed for some of our costs in this is we don't want to be footed to pay for that millions of dollars. And then it got to be, well, we're going to be Enbridge's security team. Well, that's not the case. The sheriff just enforces the laws. And I guess understanding that where this pipeline is going, it's only a little bit in Bayfield County, and the rest of it's all in Ashland County as it goes around. So I guess if the sheriff could give how do we respond? Ashland says there's something going on. Can you come over and help us?
I think Jim had asked the.
What would our involvement be, actually? What would it look?
Mutual aid agreements that
So, yeah, basically, we're not going to do patrols. We're not going to be, the only time we would be over there is if Ashland County Sheriff calls us up and says, we've got A, B, and C going. I don't have enough manpower. Can you send people over here to assist either until they get more of their own manpower or they don't need us? And then we would call in people. We're not, like I said before, we're not going to leave our community short. I'm not going to pull my guys off the road to go help Ashland County and keep Bayfield County unprotected. Bayfield County, we're going to keep our deputies in Bayfield County. We would call people in and they would go and assist Ashland County. And then once they were done there, they would pack up and then come back home.
And it's just if there's laws being broken, you're just enforcing the laws.
Yeah, correct. And really, yeah, we would, yeah, and ultimately everything would be in Ashland County. So really our biggest thing, we would just be there for manpower. I would assume most of the arrests and everything would be done by the Ashland County deputies. And then if we did, we'd be acting underneath Ashland County. So it would all be done in the Ashland County courts.
I wanted to start out, appreciate, Mark, that you acknowledge that there's a problem, that the process hasn't been fully transparent. And I think that's led to a lot of concern and complications with trying to make this project go. And looking at this stuff, I hear people doing this, and I support. We got to put our people first. We got to look out for our sheriff folks, and this is that we need to be looking at this in terms of how are we protecting the citizens. And That's why I opposed the first draft of this WCA and made the motion that we reject that proposal. What you guys have come back to us with is vastly improved. You're recognizing the transparency concerns. You're recognizing the Constitution, free speech, the right of people to sue, the right of people to assemble, and specifically not obligating our sheriff to, and you know, that our sheriff is independent and it is not for hire. And that's how it's through those kind of measures that we can ensure accountability from our people. And I hope we can figure out some way to make Enbridge responsible for and create a structure that is transparent and allows us to recoup any costs that we might have here. When I look at these proposals, I question why we need to move so fast on these. And I am very supportive of the approach of the ordinance. And I think we need to lead with that. And I do have one question on whether the ordinance as written can apply to an unanticipated event or project, or maybe a project that wasn't anticipated to have complications that all of a sudden does. Or is there, the way it's drafted, it implies that we would have to have an agreement of some sort with an entity in order to recoup these costs. So I'm wondering, does that not allow us to recoup costs if we don't have an agreement ahead of time? And then obviously the conversation would be, what does that agreement look like? Is that going to be just another version of the WCA type agreements? But starting with this ordinance, to Marty's point, this is about recouping costs of general practices, operations of the sheriff, our EMS, fire, and it's not specific to Enbridge. It's not tied to Enbridge. It's not specific to equipment tied to Enbridge. So this is getting us out of that specific and troubling connection. So a question about any thoughts on how this applies to unanticipated events, and would there have to be an agreement with parties in order to recoup costs?
As it's currently written, it does give the county the authority to, say if it meets these limitations, these requirements, then it qualifies as something that will necessitate the extraordinary public services for that. And again, some of the things that are in front of you today, this is just sort of like something that I would think would be helpful for staff when making those decisions. Partly, the first question, will it require more than routine services? And if something's already happening where we know that we've had to deploy more folks than would normally happen, I think that it really is going to come down to what that event is. If it's a one-time thing, then I think that falls within their regular duties. But if it's like an event that pops up and it's a 3-day event and we know that it's requiring more from our sheriff's department or our other public safety folks, then there is an opportunity to recoup those things after the fact. So basically the first question is, will it require more than routine services? And it lists some of them. Does it meet any of the triggering criteria, like a large attendance, road closures, alcohol sales, or a high risk activity, a multiple day event? Is it what kinds of standby presence, that sort of thing? And it even kind of lists out where those lines are between what's a low and high impact. I don't know if I fully answered your question, but
No.
also it's still, we can, I think that's a provision we work on.
I would just add one thing. We all know that emergency situations occur. And while that's not our baseline, things happen that are beyond everybody's control. And so I don't think we're talking about getting reimbursed for things like that, but more controlled events that somebody has decisions regarding. I think that's what we're referring to.
Keep going, Charlie.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the final point is the La Crosse-based ordinance is structured around a permit. And I do share the concerns that was brought up by Chris LaForge about that potentially being a free speech impingement. So I just, as we draft this language and think about permits, if we're going to have permits, I mean, loath to have another permit process in the county, but if we are going to go down that route, we've got to be really clear that people can have protests and exercise their constitutional rights. Thank you.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, just a quick note. This is still draft. We really need committee, county board input, involvement, edits. We would recommend that this go back to committee and then potentially back to the county board, maybe more than once for review.
Jackie?
So I'm actually was shocked that the county doesn't have like an ordinance for large community events, being that we have quite a few that happen throughout the county throughout the year. Applefest, Birkebeiner down in Cable, Concert in the Corn in Town of Kelly. As far as being transparent to anybody that wants to have a community event, at least you would have a piece of paper that says everybody's going to be treated fairly and this is the structure. So I'm the fourth option, the ordinance, I'm in support of, because I think the county carries on enough large community events that they should have some sort of structure for everyone.
Fred?
Yes, much has been said about trust. I believe this is an opportunity for our county's law enforcement team to create and build public confidence in them and build trust in our legal system by ensuring the public's constitutional rights for assembly and free speech, by ensuring their rights to peacefully protest. And I am confident that our law enforcement team can and will do this with or without us approving any type of agreement or ordinance. They live in our county. We know them. They're our friends and neighbors. I trust them, and their actions will speak louder than any agreement or ordinance that we assign or approve.
Steve?
First of all, I want to thank Kelly for putting this together in record time. This is, I think, going in the right direction totally. And so thank you for putting in the work to do that. And I would definitely support moving forward with really fleshing this particular one out and getting something that we can take a look at again. The one thing I wonder about though is what happens if we have a Bayfield County ordinance and we're assisting Ashland, how does that work?
I think that would revert back to, provided that the county board's okay with that, is if Ashland County has an agreement, they request mutual aid, Bayfield County sends officers over there, Bayfield County could bill Ashland County.
Ashland. Okay.
Dennis, Chair.
Yeah, just the comment that we got to realize in there, they can bill us when we call them. So it goes both ways.
Reciprocal.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
I just want to echo what Steve said. Kelly, thank you so much. This is really, really great. And what I really like about this is that even though it was a bumpy road to get to this, and there was a tremendous amount of tension, it does show when there is generative tension that results in something that's a good place to start. Because we started at loggerheads in this room, and I was there scrapping in the middle with all you guys. I'll admit it right now. And that 6 weeks from then when that thing happened to here, that's what's possible when we decide to focus on what we're working towards and who we're not working against. And so I just want to surface that. And further, I want to say the spirit of a neutral ordinance for me is so critical, because we're not asking for Enbridge or any other person's permission to give us some money. We're saying this is our rules. This is who we are. Here's how we're defining how you all are going to engage with us. And if you choose not to, Then it gets referred to the DA's office, and there is a method for cost recoupment that has nothing to do with the messiness that could come from being in, like, the media around that would be really horrible to be us fighting against Enbridge. So I just love the neutrality here. I think it's critical. I think there's more work to be done. And I think moving forward in any way that's fast would not be in honor of all the tension and the stuff that came from this. Let's take our time. Let's have attorneys that are familiar with constitutionality, that are familiar with civil rights, that are familiar with conflict of interest, and cast a wide net, because I'm telling you, the operations ordinance that was passed in this room 12 years ago is now being used as a model around the state and maybe around the country in other ways. So let's get this right, and let's take our time. And there's no urgency. The urgency is being brought to us by a corporation that has a tremendous amount to gain, and we only have things to lose. And I'm not going to be here to be reminding you of that, so I just want you to know that now.
You might still be with us.
I might talk on that.
Marty,
You know, I agree with Fred here on this. Our police officers are going to respond to any call we get at Ashland County. But if we don't have some type of agreement with Enbridge, and I don't care which one you pick, they might not even sign any ones, other ones. How are you going to recoup your money? It's just like John told us the first time, if we don't have some agreement with Enbridge, you can send them all the bills you want. That don't mean they're going to pay it. So now you're going to look at the taxpayers to come back, and we're going to have to take it out of the fund again. So why do we keep wanting to push this on the taxpayers? If Enbridge is coming through there, they're telling you they'll pay for any equipment, anything we need, overtime or wherever. Why do we want to look at the taxpayers paying this? It makes no sense. Get on board with the rest of these counties that all passed their, agreement with them. You went to Douglas County, you went to Ashland County, Iron County. You think they're worried about conflict of interest? No, their lawyers all looked at it. We had 2 lawyers sitting in here at the same time Kim was here. And they couldn't agree. You're never going to get lawyers to agree on anything. They'll keep dragging it out all the way to the end. The bottom line is, I'd rather go to court with about 4 or 5 counties than have them take us to court just by ourselves. Because we ain't going to get the money. If Enbridge don't sign an agreement, I wouldn't pay them either. If I was Enbridge, well, then you guys sit down. We're still going to go with mutual aid. And our officers are going to do a good job. But there's no guarantee you're going to get reimbursed. That's what we're getting at. It's just dumb to have the taxpayers. And once everybody knows where this money's coming from, they're going to be pissed. Nobody wants to pay extra taxes. We pay enough with the school. We got a new fire or ambulance service we're looking at promoting. Well, where's that money going to come from? That's coming out of the taxpayers there again. Who's going to fund that? And now if we got to send our police department down there, you want to fund them too? Enough is enough.
any other questions or comments? Anyone that hasn't commented on this item want to speak first? Larry?
Millionaires give lots of money to politicians. What do they expect in return? Access, favors. How's that different with Enbridge giving us a bunch of money? That's all my comment.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Jeff Olson.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Yeah, I think the ordinance, I'm in favor of the ordinance approach. I think that takes the impression that what Enbridge is paying for law enforcement. I think that's a fair approach, and I think it's a way to reimburse without creating the impression that Enbridge is getting our sheriff's department for their private security. And I hear a lot of my constituents, people say they don't want Enbridge to pay any money into the sheriff's department. And I think this is a way to fund it objectively and fairly.
Hey, Jan, I haven't been watching. Did you want to make a comment?
I'm also in favor of the second ordinance. And I want to thank Kelly for the hard work on that. And I've just been listening to everybody's thoughts and I'm still processing.
Okay, Jeff Holte.
I think there probably is never really a total guarantee, but having an ordinance like this and having a system in place that I think actually somebody like Enbridge would pay us. If we had a solid plan and a good ordinance, I think it actually really would happen. I'm in favor of it.
Okay, so what I'm seeing or hearing tonight, unless somebody wants to make a motion, go ahead, Sue. I hate to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just would like to say that I'm glad to hear a number of people willing to take time to get an ordinance right. The other thing I'd like to point out is that somewhere in the documents that we received, some attorney said that even if we didn't adopt an ordinance in this case, the county should have one like this in place. So we might as well do it now.
Okay, what I'm hearing is unless somebody wants to make a motion on
I'll move to
wait,
postpone the issue indefinitely. Postpone.
what do you got to clarify that now?
To postpone action on the 4
On
options
all
provided.
4 of them, you don't want any research into ordinances?
Well, any research will be done on extraordinary public safety services ordinance.
By postponing indefinitely, you're eliminating them, all 4 of them. You want to pick a couple?
What?
Well, then don't do it. I'll do it for you. What I'm seeing is nobody wants to take action on the agreement with Enbridge or WCA for any reimbursement for sheriff's equipment. With that said, by no action, we're not doing them. Is there still a interest in proceeding with the event ordinances and the extraordinary public safety service ordinances? Is there still that? So I would direct Mark and Kelly to proceed with the last 2 by taking no action on the first 2. They are mute. Is that good with everybody? Go ahead, Mary.
I think we should just focus on cost recovery for extraordinary public safety service ordinance. That's the one that I've heard tonight from everyone. No one's really mentioned the lacrosse. And I think just given how this whole thing is gone, let's be specific. And let's not give ourselves more options that are just going to create some noise.
With that said, we're going to proceed with further on D. Exploration on D to bring it back to the county board in the future, and the other ones are mute.
Can we go through the executive committee to review upcoming drafts?
Yes, that's the responsibility of the executive committee. We'll first go through them, and it may be June or July before we get it. Do you? Remember, it's orientation next month. So, okay, with that said, everybody good? Then we're going to move on to our next agenda item. Discussion and possible action of the joint resolution regarding National Lake Shore 2026-34. Mark and Kelly, whoever.
This is the resolution that was considered by Tribal County Relations. It was also considered by the Executive Committee. It was approved by both of those and recommended for approval onto the full county board. It states the county's opposition to the proposed designation of the Apostle Islands as a national park. The specific reasons include the need for communication with local units of government, local communities, and the concern that unplanned that this will threaten and potentially overwhelm infrastructure in and around Bayfield County.
Okay, I'm open. Go ahead, Charlie.
I move for approval resolution 2026-34.
I'll second.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Mary. Is there any further discussion? And this is to the opposition of the redesignation. Okay, all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those oppose, aye. 10 or 11 to 2. Okay, at this time we have on our agenda to take a little break. 10 minutes, 15, 10,
There-
15.
There's cake and fruit over there.
With that said, we'll be back at 8:35, 8:40. Yo, you go. Get that puppy in the mail. That when,
Yes, I was gonna put it right then and hand it to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Stopping the recording right now.